Dagestan, wrestling isn't just a sport, it's survival. From the moment you can walk, you're learning balance, control, and humility. And Islam? He was built for it. Born in 1991, raised in a community where strength and faith go hand in hand. Under the watchful eye of his coach and later mentor, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, Islam learned not just how to fight, but how to think like a champion. He trained his students to break opponents with patience, precision, and respect. And among his pupils was another name you might have heard, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Islam wasn't just Khabib's student, he was his brother in arms. They trained, ate, and bled together in the same humble gym that would one day produce two of the most dominant lightweights in MMA history. Islam once said, "In Dagestan, you must fight for everything. Respect, food, honor. That's why we are different." And he wasn't exaggerating. Every day was a test of willpower, a climb, both literal and spiritual. From wrestling mats in the cold mountain air to national tournaments across Russia, Islam rose quickly. By his early 20s, he was already known for his calm composure and suffocating grappling, the kind of control that made even experienced fighters panic. But Dagestan was just the beginning. After conquering Dagestan's wrestling mats, Islam Makhachev set his sights higher, the cage. His next battlefield? Russia's booming MMA circuit. It's 2010. The world barely knows his name. But in Makhachev, local fighters already whisper, he's the next one. Islam's first professional fight? A submission win in under 2 minutes. Classic Dagestani blueprint. Pressure, control, and suffocation. No trash talk, no showboating, just domination. Over the next few years, Islam tore through Russia's regional promotions, M1, Pro FC, turning every bout into a lesson in composure. While others relied on chaos, Islam relied on calculation. He didn't swing wildly. He studied, adapted, and finished. And while fans were learning his name, one man already knew exactly who he was: Khabib Nurmagomedov. The two shared the same dream, to bring Dagestan to the top of the fighting world. Islam became a constant in Khabib's camp, sharpening his craft under Abdulmanap's watchful eye. Their style? A hybrid of combat sambo and wrestling. Relentless pressure, positional dominance, and zero mistakes. If you lost position for a second, you were done. By 2015, Islam had compiled a record impressive enough to catch the UFC's attention. And just like that, the boy from Burshi was on the world's biggest stage, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. His debut came at UFC 187 against Leo Kuntz. Most fans didn't know who Islam was. By the end of the fight, they did. Because Makhachev didn't just win, he toyed with his opponent before choking him out in round 2. The message was clear. Dagestan had another monster on its hands. But then came the test every great fighter faces: adversity. Because in his next fight, Islam Makhachev would experience something he never had before: defeat. May 23, 2015. UFC Fight Night 70. Islam steps into the octagon for his second fight. Confidence high, skills sharp. But then, everything changes in one punch. A flash knockout, his first and only loss. The kind of moment that tests a fighter's soul, a counter left hook. Lights out. Islam, the undefeated prospect, defeated for the first time in his career. In an instant, the rise stopped cold. But sometimes, that's exactly what forges a champion. For Dagestani fighters, losing isn't just a mark on the record, it's personal. It's a test of faith, of will, of identity. And that night, Islam faced all of it. But here's the thing about Dagestan. They don't run from the mountain. they climb it again. In interviews, Islam said, "That loss made me stronger. It reminded me. One mistake, and it's over." And that mindset became his weapon. Back in Makhachev, Abdulmanap and Khabib didn't let him sulk. They pushed him harder. No shortcuts, no excuses. Every sparring session was war. Every loss in training, a lesson. Khabib told him, "If you fall, you rise stronger. That's what makes a champion." And Islam lived by that. For months, he rebuilt, fixing holes, tightening defense, mastering distance. He studied his own knockout like homework. He didn't want revenge on his opponent. He wanted revenge on his mistakes. And when he returned, it was different. Gone was the reckless rookie. In his place, a patient, surgical fighter who made opponents look helpless. Islam went on a tear, defeating Nick Lentz, Chris Wade, Gleison Tebow, Arman Tsarukyan, one after another. Each fight more dominant than the last. Each win proof that the fall was just the beginning. By 2019, Islam wasn't just a rising prospect anymore. He was a silent storm, feared, respected, and ready to take over. But just as his career gained momentum, tragedy struck. His mentor, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, passed away. That loss hit Dagestan like an earthquake. Khabib lost his father. Islam lost his guiding light. But in that pain came purpose. Islam promised to continue Abdulmanap's legacy, to represent Dagestan, his family, and the Nurmagomedov name with honor. Because sometimes, rebuilding isn't about coming back to win. It's about coming back to become who you were meant to be. July 2020. Dagestan mourned the loss of a legend, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, the man who built champions, the mind behind Dagestan's rise in MMA. And for Islam Makhachev, he wasn't just a coach, he was family. Abdulmanap's death wasn't just the end of an era, it was a call to carry his legacy forward. For Khabib, it meant finishing what his father started. For Islam, it meant proving that Abdulmanap's teachings lived on, inside every takedown, every transition, every victory. Khabib stepped into the role of mentor, not because he had to, but because it was destiny. He became Islam's corner voice, strategist, and older brother. Every fight camp, every drill, every game plan carried Abdulmanap's fingerprints. Same gym, same discipline, same goal. Dominance through respect. In interviews, Islam said, "Khabib and I fight for the same dream, his father's dream. And that dream? To see Dagestan rule the lightweight division, together." Khabib's retirement after UFC 254 didn't mark an ending. It was the passing of the torch. He promised his father he'd never fight again, but he also promised that Islam would take over where he left off. Under Khabib's guidance, Islam evolved. His fight IQ sharpened. His confidence grew. He started controlling fights not just with strength, but with patience and precision. The calmness that once defined Khabib now flowed through Islam. And while fans compared the two endlessly, Islam never wanted to be Khabib. He wanted to honor him, to prove that Abdulmanap didn't just create one champion, he created a system, a legacy of discipline, loyalty, and brotherhood. From the mountains of Dagestan to UFC main events, Islam carried both names, Khabib and Abdulmanap, with pride. Every bow, every takedown, every post-fight prayer was a tribute. And soon, he wouldn't just fight for them. He would fight as their legacy. By 2021, Islam Makhachev had gone from Khabib's protege to a storm of his own, 10 wins deep, zero nonsense, and a reputation that made even veterans nervous. But here's the thing, dominance isn't enough in the UFC. You need a moment. a signature fight that forces the world to pay attention. And that moment came at UFC 259. Islam versus Drew Dober. 3 rounds of pure control. Takedowns, transitions, pressure so tight it looked like a tutorial in dominance. Then came the finish, an arm triangle that sealed the deal. Statement made. After that, the momentum was unstoppable. Thiago Moises submitted. Dan Hooker smashed in under 3 minutes. Bobby Green controlled and finished before the crowd even warmed up. Islam wasn't just winning, he was erasing opponents. And through it all, Khabib was there, calm, focused, guiding him like a chess master moving his final piece. The goal was never just to win fights, it was to win the belt, the same belt Khabib left behind. October 22nd, 2022, UFC 280. Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, the best submission artist in UFC history versus the most suffocating grappler in the game. This wasn't just a fight, it was a test of legacy. Khabib's teachings, Abdulmanap's dream, Dagestan's pride. Round 1. Islam's timing is perfect. He lands clean strikes, controls position, and neutralizes Oliveira's guard. Round 2. The moment arrives. Islam drops Oliveira with a left hand, swarms him, and locks in an arm triangle. Seconds later, tap. And just like that, the prophecy was fulfilled. Islam Makhachev, UFC lightweight champion of the world. For the first time, the student became the champion. But in his heart, Islam knew the belt wasn't just his. It belonged to Abdulmanap, to Khabib, to Dagestan. Islam had climbed the same mountain his mentor once conquered, but this time he stood at the top with the world watching. October 22nd, 2022, Abu Dhabi. A new era had begun. Islam Makhachev, the lightweight champion of the world. But in Dagestan, being champion isn't about celebration. It's about responsibility. While most fighters take months off, Islam was back on the mats. No champagne, no parades, just the grind. Because in his words, the belt doesn't make me champion, defending it does. Then came the challenge no one saw coming. Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight king, pound for pound, #1. A smaller man, yes, but a fighter with iron lungs, heavy hands, and zero fear. UFC 284. February 2023. Champion versus champion. The fight the world didn't know it needed until it happened. Round 1. Islam's wrestling shines. Round 2. Volk starts pushing back. Round 3. Islam lands clean counters. Round 4. A technical chess match. Round 5. Pure chaos. Volk ends the fight on top, swinging, roaring, refusing to quit. When the horn sounded, no one knew who won. The fight was that close. But when the judges read the cards, Islam retained his title. It wasn't dominance, it was survival. And that night, Islam proved he could go 5 rounds with one of the greatest fighters alive and still walk out with gold. But in the Dagestani way, he didn't boast. He analyzed, improved, evolved. Because Islam doesn't chase fame, he chases perfection. Then came the rematch. October 2023, UFC 294, back in Abu Dhabi. Volkanovski again, this time on just 11 days' notice. People said it'd be closer again. Islam said nothing. He just landed a perfect head kick. Islam Makhachev, round 1 knockout. Statement made, doubt erased, legacy locked in. By 2024, the numbers spoke for themselves. Win streaks, title defenses, dominance so complete, even critics had to respect it. He wasn't just another Dagestani wrestler. He was a complete mixed martial artist. Striking, grappling, composure, and humility, all in one. From the mountains of Bershi to the top of the UFC, Islam Makhachev became what his mentor always dreamed of, a champion who represents discipline, faith, and legacy. Not just a fighter, but the embodiment of Dagestan's warrior spirit. Because for Islam, the story isn't about the spotlight, it's about the code. Train hard, stay humble, and honor those who came before you. In Dagestan, greatness isn't measured in money or fame. It's measured in discipline, in the strength of your word, and in the legacy you leave behind. Islam Makhachev stands today not just as a champion, but as the continuation of a story that began long before he ever stepped into the cage. It began with Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, a teacher, a visionary, the man who believed that faith and fighting could coexist, that a fighter's true purpose was not to destroy, but to inspire. From his small gym in Dagestan, Abdulmanap built more than athletes. He built men of discipline, humility, and belief. And from that foundation rose two names that changed MMA forever: Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev. Khabib carried the torch first. He showed the world that dominance could come with respect. When he retired undefeated, the world thought Dagestan's reign might end. But Islam stepped forward, quiet, focused, relentless, and proved the dynasty had only just begun. Now, a new generation trains under their shadow. Fighters like Usman Nurmagomedov, Umar Nurmagomedov, and countless young Dagestani prodigies, each one molded by the same principles: faith, family, and fire. In every takedown they drill, in every dawn run through the mountains, you can feel it, the spirit of Abdulmanap still alive. The Dagestani code passed from one champion to the next. Khabib once said, "When you carry the mountains of Dagestan on your shoulders, you never fight alone." And Islam lives that truth every time he steps inside the cage. From Burshi to Abu Dhabi, from small gyms to sold-out arenas, the Dagestani dynasty has become more than a story of fighters. It's a symbol of unity, faith, and purpose. A reminder that greatness isn't born, it's built. One round, one lesson, one generation at a time. Islam Makhachev didn't just fulfill a dream. He protected a legacy and ensured that the fire Abdulmanap started will never go out.
This is the Fighter's Code, where warriors are born in struggle, shaped by discipline, and remembered by legacy. Every punch tells a story, every scar has meaning, and every champion follows the code.